Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this next episode, or should I say review episode. And today we are going to be reviewing. I remember seeing Cowboy Bebop back during the Adult Swim days. Goodness, they replayed that so much. So much. And I never really watched it at all until, recently. But after I finally watched it a few years ago, what do I think? A lot of people say Cowboy Bebop is one of the best animes of all time. Probably better than Inuyasha from, I guess, what some people would say. But what do I personally think about it? After I finally sat down and watched this classic anime where it basically follows bounty hunters doing their jobs or their day-to-day jobs. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just crazy. I never watched it until recent, or a few years ago. And now I get to express how I personally feel about, Cowboy Bebop. Let's go. The story is about bounty hunters, like I said, who try to make a living off of bounty hunting. Man, just like Boba Fett.
Seriously, Arturelia, you're comparing those two characters? They're totally different from each other.
Why not? They're both bounty hunters. Though, as you progress through the story, Spike's past comes back to haunt him, basically at points in this plot. Soon, Spike and Jet Black will soon get some new allies in the Bebop, their ship, like In, Faye, and Edward. And through the show, they either get into trouble or go on hunts for bounties. Though for the main plot of Spike, you get it here and there in certain episodes. But by the last two episodes, it's all about his past and this organization that he used to be with. The soundtrack in this anime is pretty catchy with some jazzy tunes here and there. And one music that's pretty cool is the Call Me song. While the opening isn't your typical anime opening, it's pretty catchy, jazzy, or just jazzy. The ending is actually kind of different, but also just as catchy, and plays in the last episode of the show. And I'm not talking about, it is a credit song, but they do use it in the final episode. Animation-wise, it is a 90s anime, so you gotta understand that it's a little older than other animes, but it actually holds up quite well, especially those fight scenes, or even the gun battles for that matter. Now, the characters are probably the most entertaining and more interesting aspect of this show. Whether or not you like the plot or not, it's the characters that really matter in the show. Plot-wise, the show kind of just goes in their own day-to-day lives. It never really has a full-on focus until specific episodes, but that's like in between these sort of adventures. Spike Spiegel, first someone who worked with an organization, now a bounty hunter, who tries to make a living with hunting for money. He's skilled in fighting and with a gun. He mostly can hold his own through some bad situations, or if he runs into trouble. He can be funny at points with his personality and just how he acts. He's an interesting character. And Steve Bloom played him perfectly. Even though we get mostly lighthearted moments with his character, he does have points where the past will come back to bite him and he has to go full on hardcore mode. You can look at it like Bash the Stampede. Then again, he's a little more serious than Bash the Stampede. But we also get to know some of his past events in small bits and pieces, not entirely, but enough to get the gist. But overall, he's a cool character. He can kick ass and take down many foes as he can, either on his jet or on the ground. Now, Jet Black is the captain of Bebop, or the Bebop, and is also a bounty hunter, and sometimes joins Spike on his journeys. He has moments of not taking any of Faye's moments or attitude, or other things that happen in the Bebop. We do get points of his past where he was once a cop. He also digs into stuff or goes out on his own to get information. He even takes care of bonsai trees. Not to mention he also has a robotic arm. like Edward Elric. Him, along with Spike and the others, is another interesting character who runs the Bebop and has his own episodes at points, which reflect some more things about his character. Now, Faye is another character that is interesting. Most of these characters are interesting, but Faye has probably got to be the more interesting of the bunch. She has her moments where she can be a bit but as the show progresses, she actually is likable. I will say she's probably the young adult. However, there's a bit of a thing with her past that reveals how old she is. She usually can get into trouble, like Spike, with financial trouble, but she can handle her own. Edward is a young teenager girl, or boy, or a little bit of both. I don't know anymore. You know what? I think she's a she. Let's be real, I think she's a she. She can hack stuff, and she usually uses her skills to help the others out on certain things or certain cases. She's mostly goofy and funny. We don't really dig too much into her. We get more of Faye's backstory. We get more of Jet's backstory. We get more of Spike's backstory, but her, you get a little, but it's not really, they don't really give you much backlash of her past. Then we have In the dog, which is a very intelligent dog since he was experimented on. He can help his fellow crew at certain points in the show. Though for the last two characters, Julia and Vicious, well, let's just say they don't have much screen time as the main characters do. Except for flashbacks, that's about it. And then at points where Vicious shows up in specific episodes. Julia is calm and collective, and cares for Spike as they are in love. But she was also with Vicious, so there was this sort of love triangle going on. So since we don't get much of her, we don't get the full thing about her backstory, or the rest of her for that matter. All we know is that she liked Spike and Spike liked her. Well, I mean, there is a flashback with her and him, but other than that, not enough. All we know is that she was getting involved with Spike and Vicious, which Vicious was a mobster or gangster or what have you. All you know is that she fled the organization and was just in hiding. Okay, well, she was part of the organization, but that's about it. While Vicious is the same way. He appears at least in a few episodes during the course of the show. But afterwards, he doesn't appear until like the last two, after we've gone through most of the show itself. We only get that he grows to power in the organization, and he does his stuff as villains do. He really has a cold personality and is soulless. But we don't get much time with his backstory, whether or not they're more of like references to what he was doing with Spike, maybe buddies and all. It's not enough to say that he's an interesting villain more than he's just kind of there sort of deal. I mean, he looks cool, he's pretty bad, but he's not the type of villain that gave me a full impact like other anime villains do, even though he is the main villain of this show. So that's the only issue I have with Vicious. There's not enough time with him, only a few points where we get to see him in action. Like, I could give you an example of characters or anime characters that actually left a the villain anime characters that left a pretty big impact in the show itself. So for example, Naraku. He got away with so much carnage. He killed people. He actually ruined most of the main characters' lives. That was pretty impactful, and he kept getting away until they finally, I don't want to say too much. Let's just say he had more time to develop as a villain who wanted to gain power with the Shikon Jewel. Now you look at Medusa, she wanted to cause madness around the world. She left a big impact. She caused much suffering and just awful things that she would do to get, I mean, she kind of, you would hate her, but she left an impact. And then obviously Light Yagami. He believes he's just a god, and he basically is able to get away with a lot of stuff, and that's pretty impactful to the point where you just want him to die. And then you have the Major from Hellsing. He's even worse when it comes to getting away with stuff. He is able to pretty much do what Hitler would do when he came to his speeches. Basically, he had it all set up to lead a Waffen-SS group, but obviously they're Nazis, so of course they're the main, they're typical villains, let's be real. But he was more, let's just say he was a villain where his talking can be the weapon of mass destruction, and he was just as bad. He was, yeah, really bad, to the point where I felt like that was as impactful as any other anime villain can get because of how mad, or yeah, he's a madman. But then again, he's a Nazi, though. Vicious, on the other hand, he's here, then he's gone for a bit, then he comes back, and then he's gone until the last 2 episodes. I just think he wasn't that big, impactful villain. I mean, when you see him, it's pretty cool. But with the whole show, with him going on an adventure, it's not as impactful as like the previous villains that I mentioned. He's cool, but not enough time to show what he's been doing everywhere else in the course of the show. Just only when he pops up that you see his point of view where he's doing all this, and then some flashbacks with specific other side characters that he was with, and blah blah blah. Now, as for my enjoyment of Cowboy Bebop, overall, I actually really enjoyed this show. It had interesting and lovable characters. I did mention earlier that this is probably the most interesting aspect of the show, is the characters. And some great, entertaining episodes. Some would probably be better than others, that's a given, but still a fun ride. The music is also great, the opening is also jazzy, and the ending's cozy and catchy. I can understand why people love this anime. To me, I think it's basically because of the characters, and also how different it is too, besides other anime from the 90s. Certain episodes made me laugh, and while others were more dark in their tone, or noirish, because some, it kind of points looked noirish, but most of the time it was humorous, depending on the episode. Now, would it be a show I would rewatch again? Possibly. Its characters really make this show shine a lot. Heck, it's been on Adult Swim as long as Inuyasha. I just wish the villain had more time to show what he was doing and leaving a bigger impact. I mean, the impact would be the last 2 episodes, of course. Probably the only good thing with his character to leave the final conclusion. But on the other hand, I don't know if I would add him as a top 10 anime villains. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little conflicting with that one.
Yeah, so to speak.
He nailed you, huh?
The red-eyed coyote will appear in the Zona Norte at the far end of town.
So, Cowboy Bebop. People say it's the classic anime of all time. And after I watched it, like I said in this review, I actually really did enjoy this anime. There are some episodes that are better than others. Great episodes. And then on top of that, really likable characters. I really liked watching these characters go through their day-to-day lives. Even though that plot point where it could have followed mostly of basically Spike take down the villain, it was still pretty fun. Like, you could say it's a bit of a filler, but not at the same time. I don't know. I thought it was well done compared to Sorcerer Stabber Orphan Season 2's. No. Yeah, I mean, to me, I would say it's great. While it does lack one specific thing when it comes to the whole plot point, or just the plot leading to a specific goal like other animes, the point is it's mainly its characters that make this show great. And that is why I say it's great. And yeah, what else is there to say? If you want a different type of anime, then there you go, Cowboy Bebop. That would be the show for you. It's different. If you like cowboys in space sort of deal, then there you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like what you saw here, follow me. And, you know, I also have a Discord server. If you want to chat about Cowboy Bebop or something or what have you, you could fight me on whether or not I should consider it a masterpiece or something. I mean, I think it's great. There's other anime that I like probably a little more, but don't get me wrong, this is a great anime. Or if you want to discuss with me on there about the Netflix version. Anyways, peeps.
They're right up ahead.
fireworks.
Oh shit! It's split!
Come on. What is this?
That's what I was trying to tell you guys. I had the microphone set yeah, it was in the off position. Sorry, I don't know how to work this thing, but seriously, I'm not trying to attack anybody. These are just fireworks. I just wanted to celebrate a Happy New Year for everybody in outer space. Clone number 4, can you back me up?
No hablo inglés.